Climate change threatens all of us, and it threatens our way of life, our economy, our wildlife, our natural places, and our children's future. So at MCEA, we want to take a look at where all the carbon pollution is coming from in the state of Minnesota and figure out how we can stop it. That means stopping building new fossil fuel plants. In transportation, we have to shift to cleaner forms of transportation and make it affordable for people to do that. And in buildings, we have to make them so efficient that they don't leak and waste energy. So we know what the job is that we have to do. We know where the emissions come from. So what we need to do is figure out what are the levers to make that happen by going to court, by changing laws, and by working with communities to find solutions that really work for Minnesotans.
Addressing the climate issue and making sure that we are continuing to bend the curve down is something that's really popular with the people of Minnesota and the people of the country, and it's necessary. So one of the things that MCEA does really well is hold decision makers accountable. What we do and what we strive to do is make sure that the decision makers know that we're paying attention, that we're going to be on their case about making the right decision. And if they make the wrong decision, they know that we're going to appeal it. We have a whole team of lawyers and other professionals, advocates, paralegals, lobbyists, to make sure that things go the right way for the climate and for the environment. So one of our goals is to retire coal plants in Minnesota. And we've been doing that for many years, moving away from coal as a country and as a state. We're at the stage in the climate fight where we don't have the luxury of time, and we should definitely not be investing any new public or private dollars in fossil fuel infrastructure. That's what we're trying to advocate for, and I think we're going to achieve success.
We care a lot about embedding environmental justice into the work that we do on climate change, because we know that there's lots of communities of color and tribal communities and others who have been left behind or have gotten the negative side of climate change hitting them disproportionately. It feels like a moral imperative that we include those communities and that those communities help us lead the way to solutions that really support them as well.
With our electrification of transportation work, environmental justice is a really big part of it. If you look at communities of color and lower income communities, they are more likely to live along transportation corridors. And so they are more likely to suffer more greatly from the air pollution that's created by cars and by vehicles. So they're more likely to have asthma, they are more likely to have pre-existing lung conditions. So it's important to make sure that we're cutting those emissions so that people along those corridors don't suffer from those issues.
The change I'm working toward at MCEA, bringing climate change and agriculture together. I have a background working on industrial agriculture, and one thing that I've really enjoyed at MCEA is getting to bring that knowledge and couple it with the work I'm really passionate about, which is climate, because agriculture actually has a big role to play in our emissions, but also in potential solutions. There's a lot of things that we can do in our farming practices that both sequester carbon, but also have the added benefit of holding things like fertilizer or other things that can be water pollutants in the soil. And so we can do one practice and have it both reduce emissions and clean up our waters, which is huge. I mean, it's so rare that you get a practice that has not only dual environmental benefits, but is also good for a farmer's bottom line. It doesn't have to be a sad story. There's also so much opportunity and so many exciting ways that our lives can change for the better as we address climate change.
The climate change work that MCEA is doing is really important and very personal for me. I worked on an appeal where oil companies were opposing the efforts of utility companies to put in clean cars infrastructure. And so it was really important for us to be there to tell the court, these are the advantages of adopting clean cars in Minnesota, that we could save millions of tons of greenhouse gases out of the air, that we can save Minnesotans millions and millions of dollars if we can just get a future in Minnesota where there are more clean cars.
The people I work with at MCEA are some of the top experts on the issues that face Minnesota's environment and the health of our people. We're blessed to have leaders who were the architects of Minnesota's climate change legislation in the past decade. And we also understand that communicating with the public is critical. Ultimately, we're on the side of the majority of folks who want to see bold climate action. And we have to make sure that they have an avenue to express what they want to the decision makers here in Minnesota. It's really important that when folks open the newspaper or turn on the television, that they're getting messages about what decisions are being made at the Capitol. And so one big chunk of that work that we do here is making sure that we're talking to reporters, making sure that we're talking to our own members and supporters through our website and social media to bring them up to speed about what's being done and how they can get involved.
MCEA, in every case I can think of, is always up against bigger firms with more resources, more time, people, and money. That presents a challenge. We're constantly in David and Goliath type battles where we're doing as much as we can. It certainly brings the team together. There's always an attitude of, this is hard, but we're gonna dig in, we're gonna pull together, we're gonna get it done. I just have the best coworkers in the world. They're amazing people to work with.
For the past several years, real climate action at the Minnesota legislature has been blocked. It's been really frustrating because you've seen literally hundreds of young people showing up at the Capitol demanding bold climate action. And there have been proposals to do good things, but a lot of those bills have simply died. So our goal is to secure the bold climate action necessary by any means we can, whether it's through the courts, whether it's through executive actions and rulemaking, whether it's through legislation. We know that we have the skill and expertise and the tools to make it work.
Minnesota, I see us as really a beacon in the Midwest, and we can show the whole heartland of America how you can do this and how you can do it in a way that keeps the economy rolling and creates millions of green jobs. Minnesota wants it, the public supports it, and so I think the stars are aligned for us to really move forward on bold climate action.
MCEA is one of the highest impact organizations in the state. If you care about clean air and clean water and a better world for our children and our grandchildren, you know that an investment with MCEA will make a big difference. So please, donate today.